right.
That was the most unsure all right I've gotten from you probably this entire podcast, Ryan. I need more enthusiasm.
All right.
There we go. That's what it is. You should be excited this time because, I mean, you know what we're doing here.
Yeah, we're all over the place today, man.
What do you mean we're all over the place?
Well, we had this Unearthed Arcana, we got some monsters, we got some other things to chat about. I mean, this is gonna be the epitome of this is the dungeon crawl in a nutshell. We're gonna be having many different options going on at the same time. So this is a good
Unearthed Arcana
Easter.
for 50% of the time, maybe 51%, and then our other content. I'm surprised you got that word out of your mouth without throwing up.
You know, I thought about it.
Did you think about it?
I did, but it's this one's all right. This one's spicy.
It is spicy, and I mean, I'm partial to it.
It's
They
cute.
finally added. We're jumping the gun here, you know? Are we jumping the gun?
We're diving into it, what you mean?
Has the gun been jumped over? Are we going too fast? How's your week?
Yeah, let's slow.
How's your
let's slow
week,
back.
Ryan?
It's been good, man. I played some D&D on
Oh, yeah, we did do that
Sunday.
yesterday.
I've been doing some work. I've been doing some
Yeah.
voice acting work. That's been fun.
Spicy.
Yeah. I set up my mic a little different, so it sounds nice, I think.
Is it like in your mouth now?
For certain things, yeah.
For the voice acting, don't ask him about the area or the industry of voice acting that he's doing.
No, yeah.
It's very intimate. He's
The
into
other thing
ASMR now.
I've been thinking about, setting up some other, some noise canceling type stuff, that foam
Ooh. Yeah,
flopping around.
I would do that if 50% of my room was not window,
Right, yeah.
which I mean is nice, but I'm a caveman. I want to sit inside and do nothing and
Yeah, it's
have
nice
no
you
light.
got some windows there.
Nah, it is nice. Unless I am streaming or doing a video call for an interview for somebody, and then my very, very pale skin then reflects and blinds the person on the other side.
Yeah, camera does it. It happens randomly, it seems.
I fixed that.
Oh,
I fixed
that's
that.
good. That's good.
Yes, it was anybody that has a Logitech webcam, if you are using something like OBS, sorry, this is off topic. Go into your Logitech software, like the G whatever, and click on your webcam, and then at the bottom, they've updated it now. It should say, actually, you have to go to settings,
Okay.
and then configuration, disable this device in G Hub to allow other software to have full control. So what that does, if it's off, is it like if you have a setting in OBS where you've adjusted the exposure perfectly, sometimes the Logitech software will grab it and change to that priority, and it
Gotcha.
bounces around. It's really annoying. That's a little tip, a little streaming tip for you guys
The
there.
more you know, man.
The more you know. Sadly, this won't show up in a Google search for anybody that needs to fix the problem. But what will show up is that we are the Dungeon Crawl. He's Ryan.
He's Braxton.
And today, we're jumping back in to the Unearthed Arcana
Woo!
Subclasses Part 4. I don't know if you can hear my claps, but
I do, yeah, I hear this.
I'm excited because we got Warlock stuff. But
That's
that's second. That is not first. And then if we have time, we'll finish up our monsters that you don't want to take to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Because we just interacted in our D&D setting yesterday with a monster that I think is on my list. And I know Ryan will not tell me if it is that one,
No,
but
let's
I
find
am
out.
still curious. We'll find out.
And then
we shall
report back.
see. And then report back next week. Viewer retention. I thank you guys for, listening to the podcast. There's been a lot of you guys that are popping in new here. So stick around. Hopefully this will be valuable information to you because everybody and their mother covers Unearthed Arcana. So without a further ado, let's talk about this and why it is playtest material, and also the disclaimer that you do not have to use this stuff, as always, as it is Unearthed Arcana. You can use it if you want. My recommendation is if you let your player use something from Unearthed Arcana and it gets adjusted in a future Unearthed Arcana or in the official release, they have to go with that.
Yeah.
They have to go with the most recently updated thing.
Or
For better or
even-
for worse.
Yeah, or if it doesn't get updated, like the Artificer wasn't touched for a long time and your player's using it, and something's just breaking everything, or you can tell the other players aren't liking it because it, overshadows them every single time, then, talk with them and say, all right, let's maybe rework this.
Yeah, it's important to keep those things in mind. And this Unearthed Arcana, like every other one, has that disclaimer at the beginning, so make sure everybody pays attention here. But today,
Subclass is
Talking
part
about-
4.
part the Fart 4. These subclasses are the best at Flatulence Part 4. I'm just kidding. So I was talking with Ryan, and within these parts of subclasses, they've added a ton.
Yeah.
It's piling
last,
up.
What, couple months?
Yeah, dude. It's piling up. And at some point, this dam is going to break with the new source book. I swear. You've been saying it.
I'm pretty sure they mentioned, I think we talked about it a while back in one of the news segments, that they mentioned that they were working on a new book that hasn't been announced, and they're not talking about exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's been trickling around lately. So hopefully we see these two guys in it, but with some alterations. We'll talk about our opinions, of course. Hopefully, take them up, eat our opinions, make them your own. That's the steadfast rule of the Dungeon Crawl here.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about the College of Spirits Bard and the Undead Warlock. Now, right off the bat, let's pretend we don't know anything about these classes, okay?
Okay, just
like
the names.
wipe your brains, all of everybody out here that's listening, even Ryan.
Okay.
So between these two, does it pique your interest?
Yeah. Well, College of Spirits, honestly, a lot of the names of the Bard subclasses are kind of snooze fest for me.
Yeah.
College of Lore, College of whatever. A lot of them aren't the most interesting, but then you get into it, it's a little more tactful, a little more loreful, interesting. But the Undead, that I'm already on board. I think almost every Warlock subclass on paper, just looking at the name, cool. Yeah, it looks awesome. Then you read it like, okay,
the great old ones.
This sucks, man.
Hexblade. These things are so dope. So for me, I was not interested in the Warlock one because Necromancy is fun, but I feel for me, I'm never interested because it's done a lot. So it's always boring to me. For me specifically, I don't think it's a bad trope or like genre intrinsically, objectively. It just does not interest me. So I was kind of sad. And almost all of the latest Warlock subclasses have made me sad.
Now you like the Lurker from Bullet from the Deep or something?
Yeah. They've changed it a good bit. Made it a little bit different. But like the Genie one, up until recently, that wasn't super good, but they fixed it a bit. They tried to add some stuff to the tome. But we're talking about the Bard first. So since I'll probably talk more about the Warlock, let's have you start on the Bard.
Okay. Well, it's called the College of Spirits, as we mentioned.
Nice.
Let's get into the mood here. Stories of the past are powerful. They hold lessons of history, philosophy, and magic. Bards of the College of Spirits seek the stories of those from beyond the material plane. Using gaming sets, as in Ouija boards, they reach out to hear their stories. But the bards have no control over what story they find. That sounds cool.
It does sound cool, but I specifically underlined the gaming sets thing because I was excited to see what examples they had later on. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, to me, just reading that, I was like, all right, so this is going to be like you're sitting around a table, messing around with a Ouija board.
Seance.
Yeah, seances, something. Okay, so nothing happens, so you hit third level.
Yep.
Third level, you get the Guiding Whispers ability. You can reach out to spirits to guide you and others. You can learn the Guidance cantrip, which doesn't count against for you has a range of 60 feet.
So that is, of course, larger than the original Guidance range, correct?
The original one is touch, I believe. You have to physically touch somebody.
Okay, so I think most bards will be already taking the Guidance cantrip, right?
Well, I think... Yeah, I mean, well, not necessarily.
I mean, if you're focusing on, like, I definitely would. Maybe it's not the best thing to do, but like if I'm playing a bard and I'm looking at cantrips, I think I'd probably take this one most of the time.
Yeah,
because it's another way to buff.
I just checked, and I'm correct. It was not a bard spell until this moment.
Okay,
so you can only get it with this subclass.
There you go. You get it in spades now. Just yeeting Guidance over to your party members.
This brings into the question, what exactly is the... I would say most classes have some sort of identity. What exactly is the bard identity? Mm-hmm. Generally, I would say it's more of a kind of a buff spell. Yeah. Buff a dude, debuff another dude. But it can also be more, balanced around healing or damage. The bard's kind of in a weird spot, similar to like the warlock, or I'd also say the ranger is also in a weird spot.
So you feel like they can kind of do things that everybody else can do, but they don't have their own shtick.
Yeah, or if they do something different, it's not
as good.
Yeah, Because the debuff and buff mechanic in D&D to me is not the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it's all about with the action economy, I would say. And this isn't what I was talking about before, but just foregoing everything to do this buff, it's a bit wonky.
And it's one of those things we've talked about with our combat episode, where if the enemy saves, then your whole turn's gone. So there's a lot of spells where, I mean, granted, that's kind of what spell mechanic's all about, but there's a lot of spells where if they succeed, will still take half damage, and I think many players would probably rather use that than the buff and debuff stuff.
Okay, so at the very least here, you're getting a really good cantrip that you didn't have access to before, and it has a massive range.
It is important to say this is a cantrip.
Yeah, it is a cantrip.
So it doesn't really count against anything. Yeah.
But you guys get a lot of stuff at 3rd level, though.
It's like Bless.
Yeah. Bless is all right. But the spiritual focus thing is what I was kind of wanting to talk about. So if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. Well, this is I wouldn't know if you meant, I don't mind. Take it away, but I'll take it away. So this is interesting because it's
okay. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I'm already into it, man. Now, right, so this is interesting because it's 3rd and 6th level. So you get it kind of it continues to get better as time goes on. So 3rd level, your practice of contacting spirits can employ special tools. Going back to the thing we mentioned previously, the gaming sets. You can use the following objects as spellcasting focuses: a candle, a crystal ball, a talking board, a Taraka deck, or a skull.
So hold on. I don't know about you, but my idea of, like a gaming set, like sitting down, is not putting a candle on the table and looking at it. So I think
Taraka deck
just need to remove like Taraka deck, talking board, or Ouija board. I think they just didn't want to put that there. Crystal ball, maybe. And I know they're just giving us examples and we can make it whatever the hell we want, but they should remove the gaming sets thing from the Call of Spirits.
I'd make it a skull and let the skull talk to me. Like there's a spirit stuck inside of it.
Yeah, sounds cool. Or talking board. It literally just possess little items. It's a spirit. It's your way to talk with those that are not of this world.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
So 6th level just gets a little better. And whenever you deal damage or restore hit points using this particular focus, you roll. And it's important to say it's only for bard spells that you can use the spellcasting focus for, which I don't know. There's not often you're using things that aren't a bard spell, but I get a magic item or something, So whenever you use this spellcasting focus, you roll d6 and you gain a bonus to one roll of the spell equal the number rolled.
So this just adds on to the damage die, I would assume?
Yeah, you can either add on to the damage die, or if it has to hit somebody, then you could probably add it onto that too.
So I think this is good, but if you're playing a high-level campaign, it just kind of stops being useful after a certain amount of time. Like, getting extra damage is good, but I always love seeing scaled abilities, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's really any of that in this Unearthed Arcana subclass.
No,
especially
not really.
Especially this one, like rolling an extra d6 on a healing or damage spell, like awesome, great, but it just kind of sits there, man. I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know if they could make it better by saying at 13th level it gets better again.
Like add your proficiency bonus. That scales.
True.
Yeah.
Good
I'd
point.
be down for that. Like a D6 plus your proficiency, which could be a lot. That could be a lot at some point. But I think Tales from Beyond is like the centerpiece for this guy. Definitely. Of course.
It takes up a whole page. Here.
It does indeed. So let's go through it.
You want to take some of them? I'll take the other half.
All right. I've got some thoughts on a lot of them, but
so
just to
explain what
give
this
an
thing
idea for Tales from Beyond. This is where you're using your board item or whatever, your Talking Skull in Ryan's case, to reach out to the spirits. So when you're holding this focus, you can use a bonus action and take one of your bardic inspiration rolls. Use that on the spirit table. So this does use up one of your bardic inspirations. And you get to pick one of these stories to recount. And each of these stories that you have in mind have an effect. And you can use this Once you obtain the story with your bonus action, as an action, you can choose one creature you can see within 30 feet. Can also be you, but I guess you have to see yourself. I don't know. And once you do, you put this effect onto that person or enemy or whatever you want to do. I want to talk about, like, you're using this as an action, and an action is defined as how long is an action? On your turn, you have 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, technically, the whole round is 6 seconds.
Okay. So the wording for all of this is that you recite a tale of a clever animal, or you recount the story of a renowned duelist.
Yeah.
But if you're doing this in an action, you ain't telling nobody a story. How does that? What?
That's true.
So there is one wording there where it says you can only retain one of these tales in mind at a time. In mind. So you're just thinking about it, but that's not very bardly if I'm just like, guys, I promise you I'm thinking of a really, really cool story right now. Just believe me, you're going to get buffed or debuffed.
Yeah, so I mean, it does definitely bring in some cool roleplay, especially if the player does tell the story. But like you said, if it's in the middle of combat, A, it will throw off the flow of combat, and B, it just can't work in it.
So that's my problem with it. Maybe you could say, hey guys, remember that time I told you about that cool beast? Yeah, think about that. Feel better now, don't you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. He tells it. I mean, that's what the bonus action's for, to get the spell, or to get the spirit tale.
So I guess in the wording of it is you're literally in the moment pulling a new story from a spirit that you've randomly connected to.
Yeah.
Based off of what you roll. And I don't understand how this all happens in one turn.
I would imagine more often than not, let's say you're the subclass, you would roll in this table before you ever get into combat, get one you think will work, and then go for it. Instead of doing it in the middle of combat. Because otherwise, there's way too much randomness that I think you would get something that definitely wouldn't help you.
So then, then I was thinking about it the wrong way. You should probably do this before you get into combat. Okay, that's a good stipulation. I think it makes more sense there. So you recount a tale, everybody hears it, and you're like, okay, you can just then enact the bonus from that story. So that works. So definitely, with how it's structured, I do not think it makes sense in combat, because you could not tell anybody a story that quickly.
I mean, this table, we'll get into it, has the same issues I have with the Wild Magic table, except the Wild Magic table is supposed to be random. That's the whole point of the Wild Magic stuff. This is randomness that kind of throws off it's like injecting some Hearthstone into Magic the Gathering, where one is completely built off of RNG and the other never really has much RNG in it. Yeah,
and it uses your Bardic Inspiration, which the subclasses generally do provide you usages for that, but that's a very limited resource for you for a good while. And the way this works, of course, you have, for a certain amount of levels, a die equal to 1d6, and then as you level up, it's a d8, d10, and d12 ultimately. There are indeed 12 things you can do here on this list. So as it scales up with your die, you get more options.
Which is nice.
Which is nice. And I like the last one, of course, is cool. So let's start, I guess, with the beginning here. And Beast is your first tale. You're now able to recite a tale of a clever animal. So for 1 minute, the target has advantage on wisdom perception checks and advantage on attack rolls against a creature if another enemy is within 5 feet of it, and that enemy is not incapacitated. So just you get advantage on wisdom perceptions and advantage on attack rolls against a creature if they're within 5 feet of another enemy.
Okay.
All right.
That's nice.
That's okay.
I mean, this area definitely incentivizes the buff mechanic of a bard.
Absolutely. So I think that's really cool, at least. And then jumping to warrior, just because there's a lot here, you get the story of a really cool dude who's a good duelist man. And what ends up happening is you kind of get a partner in crime here. When you cast a melee attack spell against a target, you kind of summon a spectral warrior. So this duelist briefly appears in a space unoccupied within 5 feet of the target before it leaves or vanishes. So if you hit this person with your melee attack spell, you also have this specter do force damage equal to 2 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration die. It does not use your Bardic Inspiration die, but you get that damage plus your charisma mod. So a d6 plus, if you already have 20 charisma, plus 5 So that's an extra 11 force damage, which is pretty
Yeah.
chonky. And then up to 12, so you're a max damage you could be doing if you guys are at ability score 20 and no higher than that. That's up to 12 plus 5, so that's 17 damage.
Pretty
Cool.
chunky.
Pretty chunky. That's fun, a little flavorful. Friends, you tell a tale of two people who are really good buds, real cool guys, you know? You pick a target and another creature of the target's choice. So your target gets to choose this other person that it can see within 5 feet. They regain hit points equal to your Bardic Inspiration die plus Charisma mod. So, again, same thing we talked about before.
Nice.
Next up is Runaway, and this one's my favorite because it's fucking crazy.
Okay.
You tell the tale of an adventurer that could escape any confinement. Your target can immediately use its reaction teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space that it can see. So Misty Step, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what that is. When the target teleports, it can choose a number of creatures it can see within 30 feet of it, up to your Charisma mod. So, bruh, you can teleport 6 people.
Yeah.
Up to 6 people.
GTFO card right there.
Everybody just moves 30 feet. Maybe that won't get you out of the interaction completely, but if every single person in that moment can use their reaction to teleport away, this one is probably one of the ones you're pining for when you're rolling on your die here.
Yeah, that's the problem with the randomness is who knows if you might go through multiple turns with your Bardic Inspiration trying to nab this one it could make it for some tense combat. You guys are outclassed. You're like, we got to get out of here. Okay. Every turn you're rolling on the table trying to get the one that'll work for you until you run out of Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah, this is the only one I would really want to get. That's just a really cool pocket spell that you could knock out if you're thinking of the story, if you manage to roll that. And it could suck, like you use your inspiration die and you don't get a story that you want. It's that thing that Ryan's talking about where it's like one and done. I'm never going to use this. I'm just going to be thinking about this useless story so I can get rid of it or I use it again. But moving forward, Avengers, your next one. You recount the tale of an avenging knight. For a minute, whenever a creature, the target that you've chosen can see within 30 feet of it, is damaged by a creature, target can use its reaction to deal force damage equal to a roll of your Bardic Inspiration die, not with your modifier to the attacker. Cool.
Yeah.
A little bit of damage, and it can keep doing that, so it procs for an entire minute. And the final one I'll talk about here before Ryan gets to the chonky ones, because it's halfway through here. Hero. Speak the tale of an epic hero. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. Target gains temporary hit points equal to roll of your Bardic Inspiration die, plus your Bard level. So 12 plus up to 20 if you guys are playing that, so you can get 32 temp health to somebody at max level to give you an idea where the scale's to. The target's walking speed is also increased while they have these hit points by 10. Cool.
Like a little baby haste.
Nice. Yeah, a little baby haste. So I think those are cool. Those are the first 6 you'll have until your Bardic Inspiration die starts getting a bit stronger.
And something that I want to say before I dive into these other 6 ones is I do definitely like that this is a bard class that's not just like a music dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the first thing everyone thinks about when they think of a bard is the guy carrying around the lute or the some instrument and walking around playing tunes. But I always like when there's a bard subclass that breaks that stereotype, and this guy is just all about connecting with spirits and telling spooky tales.
So I love things in D&D that bring up improv or RP situations. For example, the inspiring leader thing. Now, I've stopped doing it because it gets redundant, and you can only tell the party the same thing so many times. But the opportunity, like when you guys wake up, you do a speech. I did that consistently for quite a few sessions until it just took up too much time and I was saying the same stuff. But for this, there's so many things that you can roll that it would be so fun to like roll warrior and then tell a quick tale of a warrior just off the top of your head. How fun would that be? Or you could even spin it to where you're kind of like Usopp or like a liar character, and you just tell stories about yourself.
Would you make your player have to tell a story, or would you tell the story if they don't want to?
I mean, I talk to them about it, but if they're picking this, I would seriously say, I want you to do it. I'm not just going to let you say, okay, I rolled beast, this happens. Like if you're doing a bard character, I would hope that you want to. But if you're just very...
And then listen to your player and make it into the history of your world and bring it up later. They tell about this famous folk hero, then they find a book later that talks about them.
Yeah, so I would strongly prefer that my player does it, but of course, if they're just not comfortable, I wouldn't force them,
Yeah.
But I think it's cool.
Number 7 here, Fae. You recount the tale of a mischievous Fae The target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you until the end of its next turn. The charmed target must use its action to make a melee attack against a creature other than itself that you mentally choose. The target can act normally on its turn if you choose no other creature.
So this one right away can have no effect, which kind of sucks because if there is no other target for the target to choose, it's the melee attack on, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen. So have this effect can't prop.
Yeah. You could choose someone that's really far away from it, so it has to walk, but that all plays into whatever the battlefield's like.
Yeah. It would have to be able to reach the melee creature, though, with its movement. Yeah. Otherwise, it just does its own shtick. So that one's probably my least favorite.
Number 8, Dark Spirit.
Spoopy?
And this is the so once you hit 5th level, this will be like the Mac Daddy guy you can use.
Yep.
Dark Spirit, you speak a dreadful tale of a slayer in the dark. The target becomes invisible until the end of its next turn or until it hits a creature with an attack. If it hits a creature with an attack during this invisibility, the creature takes necrotic damage equal to a roll of your Bardic Inspiration die and is frightened of the target until the end of its next turn.
Imagine a bard with a party of rogues. This one's the best one.
Yeah, instant sneak attack.
So that's really cool. I like this one. It's kind of nifty.
And number 9, once you hit 10th level, you can start getting these bad boys. Giant. You speak of the deeds of a mighty giant. Each creature of the target's choice that can see within 30 feet of it must make a strength saving throw, taking force damage equal to 2 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration die on a failed save and is knocked prone. The creature that succeeds on its saving throw takes half as much damage and isn't knocked prone. Okay. My issue with some of these higher ones, I mean, they're really nice, but if you get one of the lower ones that only is, 1 roll of your Bardic Inspiration die at a high level, then you're just going to be like, you're going to be upset that you didn't get some of these higher level ones.
The more you get, the less likely you are to get the ones that you want, which is kind of, I think that's how they balanced it. That's why these later ones are stronger. Still, they do address it later a bit, but not the way I would want. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is important. This is all happens on 3rd level. Granted, it does change as you get higher levels, but they do have other features farther on.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, the dragon. You breathe a poem of a wrathful dragon.
Words.
Yeah. The target magically spews fire from their mouth in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in the area must make a dexterity saving throw, taking fire damage equal to 3 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration die on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one.
Okay, so at this point, you have a D10. So this is 3d10 damage in a cone. So that's real good. You want this guy.
But you got to be careful because it can and will hit your friends.
Yeah.
So be careful whose math you choose.
But you're well aware. You've got this story in your brain. I almost want them to limit it. Like, you can't do this in combat unless you've recounted. You can't recall a new story in combat.
Yeah, I like that.
Because
it'd have to be
you can't tell a tale in combat. I'm sorry. So if you use this, you're done until you are out of combat and can recount it again. That's the change.
Because then when you use your action, you're not telling the story. You're just connecting with the individual that the story is from and using their power.
Unless you are really good at 6-second stories and you don't do anything else that turn, really.
That'd be impressive.
It would be impressive. Okay. I got my 2 cents in there. Sorry to interrupt.
No. Here's the last 2 that you get at 15th level. 11. Celestial. You speak of the exalted deeds of a celestial. The target regains hit points equal to 2 rolls of your Bardic Inspiration die plus your Bard level. So at this point it'll be 15 plus your 2 rolls. So that's going to be a lot of health.
Yeah.
And if that's not enough, you can also end 1 disease or a condition from the following list, which is the general list of conditions more often than not. That's pretty huge.
It is pretty huge. I like this one a lot. It's very, very useful. You've got a 1 in 11 or 1 at 12 chance to get it at this point. So if you get it, hold on to that boy until you need it at the right time. In that sense, I think it's like you're loading your ammunition, which is kind of fun. Like once you get one that you enjoy, but it's the randomness that's stressful. And
it's like a game where you prep the potions or you prep a certain weapon that you're bringing into this encounter because it's going to have a lot of undead.
Yeah, it's kind of like a cleric when they prep their spells too, because they have all spells. They just have to choose.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's similar to that. Okay, all right. Let's get to the coolest, quirkiest one for
It's
obvious
the last
reasons.
one. Yeah, number 12.
Oh,
Unknown.
nobody knows it.
You utter an incomprehensible fable
Yes.
from being beyond the stars.
Ooh.
Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or take psychic damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die. So 3d12s.
Mm-hmm.
And the target's unable to speak any language for 1 minute. So this is the one you want to put on the spellcasters.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Then there's no more spells coming from those bad boys.
Like, if they fail this, they just go dumb from the incomprehensible fable, this tale that you've told. You know, this is from the far realms. It's so good. Or wherever you want. Oh, like, you connect with a mind flare somewhere and you steal some of their forbidden knowledge or something like that, you know?
Oh, I like it.
So good. But that's all of those there. They address this again because this is only the 6th level thing that you get. You're getting something at after this immediately and 14th level. So I think I'll talk about the spirit session thing that's coming up here. So now you're able to channel these spirits to gain insights to magic. This thing is really cool. I think you can conduct an hour-long ritual channeling spirits. So you have to take time out of your day, of course, to do this, which can be done during a short or long rest using your focus. So when you conduct this ritual with a number of creatures equal to your, you can conduct the ritual with a number of creatures equal to your proficiency bonus. So including yourself, and I think at 6th level that's still 3.
Yeah,
sounds about right. So you can do this with 3 people, so some of your party. At the end of the ritual, you temporarily learned 1 spell of your choice from any class. Wow, it sounds fun. I can learn any spell? No. They limit it with the next paragraph. The spell you choose must... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, this is important to know because it's from any class. Never mind. Continue.
Yeah. So
I'll mention later.
The level must be equal to the number of creatures that conducted the ritual or less. So at this point, 3 or less. The spell must be of a level you can cast, first limitation, and it must be of the school divination or necromancy. So you cannot learn.
Yeah.
That you're very restricted, and it makes sense divination or necromancy
crazy
because you're divining from the spirits, which could be from the divine, or they could be something that's dead. It makes sense, but it's like a spell of choice from any class, but divine or necromancy. So it counts as a bard spell for you nonetheless, and does not count against the spells that you know. You keep this until you start. You cannot do it again until you start a long rest, and you know the chosen spell until you start a long rest as well.
So if you get attacked in the middle of the night, you lost the spell.
Yeah, it's gone. So it's fun, but it takes an hour, so that's a good chunk of time. This does happen during a rest, so you can knock 2 things out. And seance, how fun is that?
I mean, the issue I see with this is, let's say you're in a party, with the general adventuring group is generally around like 4 or 5, right?
Yeah.
So the spell you choose must be below equal to the number of creatures that connect to the ritual. So it has to be between 4th level if you got 4 dudes in your party.
Yeah.
Well, then it comes into where you just decide to start inviting NPCs into your party just so you can increase the amount of levels that you can be getting out of this bad boy.
Yeah, well, I think the average party size, and I thought about this during my read through of it as well, and I forgot until you just mentioned it. The general partying size is about 3 people. So you're very right. This cannot have the maximum effect.
Unless you grab some NPCs, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of poopy. I think that's the dumbest thing about this, is it is limited by something out of your control. You cannot really control that. And how are you going to convey? Like, hey, I just want to speak with the dead. You can join in, right?
Yeah, can you hop in just for this rest?
Yeah,
please.
So, not super great. The number of creatures. You could summon things. Maybe if you're able to bring some like familiars around or get an animal, but kind of weird. So there's a lot to clear up with this guy here and edit around. Ryan, come up with the next one because I think this is the big problem here.
Okay. Mystical connection at 14th level. Your connection to spirits has become a semi-permanent. Whenever you use your Tales from Beyond feature, you can roll a d6 and use it instead of expending a Bardic Inspiration die. You still use your Bardic Inspiration die for the Tales effect without expending it.
This is the worst worded thing I've ever seen them write.
Yeah, you got to read it a couple times.
So, at first, to me, it seemed like you are now able to not use your Bardic Inspiration die when you use your feature. So that's cool, but you are limited to 1 through 6.
Yeah.
But then the next sentence says you still use your Bardic Inspiration die, which would make me think that you can use the D12 just without expending it. So which is it? Is this giving you the option to not use ammunition, so to speak, but with a limited range of what you can get? Or is it not that, and you can just do it without using or losing ammunition? What's happening here?
I don't know, man. My head hurts trying to understand and comprehend it. I would like it if it is, yeah. You can just use the D6.
Yes.
And 1 through 6. But that last sentence, I don't know who added that.
What you should say, let's try to give Wizards of the Coast an offering here so they can alter this. I know they're not listening, but if by chance they do, Wizards of the Coast, next time you fix this, make it you can roll your Bardic Inspiration die without expending it. Bam, done.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
That is essentially what they're saying here if the second sentence is affecting the D6 and changes.
Yeah.
But
true.
I would prefer this because it's like, why are you bringing the limit just to remove it later at 4? I know that's what happens as you level up, but I find it more interesting that there's a gain and a loss here. Like if you want to get the stronger ones, you have to use a Bardic Inspiration die, but if you're okay with 1 through 6, you don't expend anything and you get it. I like that better. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm trying to see exactly. I'm getting too lost and trying to understand exactly what they're saying, and it's
yeah. So this is definitely
it's poorly worded.
It's very.
But we've mentioned before, the Unearthed Arcana always has some things that are a little questionable and are tough to understand exactly what they're intending. But that's why it is playtest material.
They're throwing it out so that we can adjust it. And there's always a survey at a certain amount of time, and I think this one's. I don't think the survey's up for this one just yet. Let's see. No. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys have any feedback based off what we said, jump in there and give them information. Help forge the future of official subclasses that are released. So that could be cool. But next up, I mean, that's everything. That's it. What do you think about it?
That's the Bard, yeah. I like it. My issues, like I said before, is the randomness issue with it. And actually, that's about it. Just the randomness issue. Everything else, I like the roleplay aspects, I like the lore aspects, what you can mix in as a DM.
Yeah. I would say
it's not bad.
If they remove the randomness, I would say lower the number of stories they can tell to maybe like 6 to 8, and they can pick and make them a bit more on par with each other.
It's definitely, I think, would get people away from using just the same Bardic colleges, like because usually you just see College of Lore. That's the more often than not one that you end up seeing people play.
Very true, but I appreciate that they're trying to think outside the box with this, and I like where they're going. And traditionally, they're pretty damn good at fixing these up and making them work. This is a lot more exciting than the original things that have come out. A bit more bombastic, but going to the
more
Warlock,
exciting, I think, than the other Bard ones that's been in the Unearthed Arcana. As far as I remember, I mean, I do scrub a lot of the Unearthed Arcana pain from my memory, but I think I do remember liking. And but not
scrubbing it from your memory is fine because they'll come up later in official material, so it's not necessarily something that you have to go with. But I've noticed a lot more people going with Unearthed Arcana content. Like I'll scroll through Instagram and somebody's got a commission of their character or something that they drew. This is my sorcerer, whatever. And somebody in the comments says, "Oh, what's their subclass?" This from Unearthed Arcana. I'm like, oh, people are allowed to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think the Unearthed Arcana subclasses are heading in a good direction.
Mm-hmm.
This does actually, well, no, I was about to say this does kind of destroy my planar book idea, but this could still, be in the ethereal plane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's loosening the planes more so.
Shadowfell?
Yeah, pretty strong armed into Shadowfell, which is interesting because the Hexblade is technically all Shadowfell as well. But many people alter it like myself. But getting into it,
Yeah, this is your baby. Let's go.
this is my baby. I liked this one a good bit. There's a couple of things that are unclear, just like the last one.
Warlock. So you'd like it, or you'd like it regardless.
I like it regardless. I went straight to it when I found out it came out. I didn't even check the Bard one until earlier today. So the thing here is at first level, you gain your Otherworldly Patron feature, and this is a playtest option for the Undead. The Undead is an entity that resides in the dark corners of the multiverse. Your patron could be Asararak, however you say that guy.
Sazerac, yeah.
Sazerac, that guy. Azalin, Lord Soth, who I've read a good bit about. Or Strahd?
Yeah.
And somebody spoilered me into on how that might work. And those of you that have played the entirety of the Strahd campaign may understand. But I'll leave that out just so that I'm not spoiling anybody who is trying not to read those things. So those guys can be your patrons, or anybody else that you could justify being here through homebrew, or some other ancient undead being. The focus here is that they are undead. You may seek to gain knowledge from your patrons' countless lifetimes or experience, while it may see you as a piece of centuries long past.
I guess you could also be Vecna.
Yeah,
he'd be a cool
Vecna
patron.
is strong boy, scary boy.
Yeah.
Can be an eyeball. So you get expanded spell list as with every patron that comes around here. Whenever you learn a warlock spell, you can choose from these as well. I have issues with this because a lot of these, like Bane,
I have
Speak
issues
with the
with
Dead,
this
and I think a couple other things here, you can get through invocations already. And
yeah, but you don't have to waste an invocation on it.
But the invocation Speak with the Dead just allows you to do it without expending. You have the agency to not choose these, but I'm a little. I don't like this expanded spell list that much.
My issue with these, and I'm sure you will back me up on this, is first let me ask you a question, Braxton. Playing as a warlock for the many years that you have,
Yes.
How long does it take for you generally to get to a 11th level in a campaign?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's never happened to him yet.
No.
And we've played D&D for a long time.
3 or so years. Maybe.
Once you hit 11th level, that is when you get 3 spell slots. Okay?
Yes.
Before that, even once you get 3 spell slots, before you have 2, regardless, whenever you're going to use one of these spell slots to cast Phantom Steed, or Death Ward on somebody.
Yeah.
I could never see you using one of your precious spell slots on creating a steed to travel someplace quicker.
So I see your intention there, and I agree with you, but not with the Phantom Steed one. I find that one would be useful. I would not use it unless I knew we were traveling for the entire day.
That's true. If you are traveling, that's a fair point.
But very correct. Like, I would not use it to just Speak with the Dead, because if I'm going to do that, somebody else in the party would probably do it, or I'd get the invocation. Death Ward, that doesn't help me at all. That spell slot's gone. I want something that, of course, can be used continuously. Why I think Phantom Steed is good is because it lasts for a good amount of time. It's all about efficiency and maximizing the spell usage. So one-off spells aren't that great. Greater Invisibility is pretty okay because it lasts for a good amount of time.
Yeah, but, I mean, I get the lore reasons behind these,
yes.
The flavor reasons. But even still, I don't know.
Yeah, this isn't a very surprising list. And I'm like, oh, finally I can cast this. Most of these I could have gotten before in some way, shape, or form. So moving forward, Form of Dread. This is kind of the centerpiece here. You're not able to manifest an aspect of your patron's dreadful power. As a bonus action, you transform for 1 minute and gain the effects while transformed. You gain temporary hit points equal to 1d10, so random, but that's how dice work. Plus your warlock level, so that's pretty chunky. Could be 10 plus 20 at a max, so 30 hit points at the highest level you could get. Once during each turn, when you hit a creature with an attack, you make them do a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they're frightened of you for the next turn until the end of theirs. You're also able to be immune to the frightened condition. You're just a scary guy all around. So you can transform a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. As you know, the levels of those numbers increase. That's a pretty decent amount, up to, I think, 5. You regain all expended uses upon a long rest. I'm noticing a lot of these Warlock subclasses, whenever you get a new effect, they refresh on a long rest, which has me sad, but I understand. You know,
Yeah, they're trying to balance it out.
It would make it to where the Warlock isn't always like, guys, can we just take a short rest?
Right.
So that sucks. But I wish they added some things that happen on a short rest now. So this form can be anything that's kind of related to your patron, which is super cool for role-playing experiences. Really, really cool looking. Maybe it's a shroud of shadows forming the crown and robe of your Lich patron. So typically your Lich patron's wearing a really cool spectral crown and a billowing robe. You just turn to those two things, just floating around. Really cool. Or maybe you gain bat-like features, like your vampire patron, maybe if it's Strahd. So this can be really
this
cool.
This happens at first level, too.
First level. So you just get this. It's freaking awesome. And then you're tossed into Grave Touch, which is now you're allowing, or your patron is giving you a profound effect from his magic on your body and what you're able to do. So you now do not need to eat, drink, or breathe. Cool.
That's nice.
You can...
Not that that comes up too often in...
You can swim.
Campaigns, but...
You don't need to cast the spells that make you breathe underwater.
That's really very good. That's a good point.
If you're playing a micromanaged campaign, you don't need to eat and drink, so that's cool. Get a little bit of flavor. You go to a bar.
Yeah, the only times it would ever come up in a campaign, in a general campaign, say like if you're in the Shadowfell or you're in a desert or something, and it's important to tell the players, okay, you're starting to run out of food. You guys have not come across anything in a long time.
Yeah. You're like, I'm fine. You guys are dying, but I will not, because I am partially undead. In addition to this, whenever you hit a creature with an attack roll and do the damage against it, you can replace the damage type with necrotic. You can roll when you're in your form of dread. So if you're further buffing yourself with that, you can add an additional damage die. So whatever you're attacking with, you can also do the necrotic damage with that as well. So it's an extra bit of damage.
Well, cool. This feature is therein lies the problem with this class.
Yeah, you have to be in your form of dread if you want to.
No.
Oh, really?
That's not the problem. The problem is, okay, so now we're going to theory craft here. And I've seen this posted a few other places, and I've definitely agree with it. While you're using your form of dread, and let's say you decide to take the Agonizing Blast invocation, which whenever you cast Eldritch Blast, which is a cantrip, you add your charisma modifier to the damage it deals on a hit. Okay? So... just, not adding anything else, just having Agonizing Blast, Form of Dread, and you're hitting 6th level with the Grave Touched feature.
Oh, Eldritch Blast
you deal
is wonky. Eldritch Blast.
Well, you do 2d10 plus your charisma modifier. Let's say you're a high enough level, you got +5. So then that means once you get to high enough level with Eldritch Blast, which I think is like 11th, maybe 15th, I don't recall, but you get 4 beams, okay? Which means you're dealing 8d10 plus 20 on a cantrip every turn for a minute.
I see no problems.
And that's not where it gets, that's wonky. But let's say...
Are you saying this happens on each beam?
Yeah, that's each...
Oh, well, my God.
Yeah, okay. So, that's total. That's total. Assuming every single one hits, right? Then you get, so let's say you can even walk here, and this I didn't come with myself, so I can't claim this. But you then pick up the Meta Magic Adept that we got from the last group there, the last Unearthed Arcana, for Quicken Spell, and you dip into the Fighter class. So you're multi-class, and you're grabbing things from left and right here for Action Surge. Then in theory, if you're getting really crazy with it, you could do 24 d10 plus 60 necrotic damage on a single turn, an average of 180. Of course, if you hit with all beams. And this obviously is at a very high level anyway, but this is still, it's a cantrip.
So hold on. Is this taking into account that this happens when you roll damage?
Yeah,
this happens with each beam. Each beam you double it basically.
More or less.
Oh my God.
This is saying that you hit everyone's AC and you're able to connect these beams, but that's a cantrip that's doing that much damage. I think there's ways they could reword this and make it just last for a single turn, or a single, around something that would help balance it out. But currently,
Well, just
it could get
don't make it
broken
when
real
you
quick.
roll damage. Just make it on a single attack, so that it doesn't proc on each individual beam of Eldritch Blast.
Sure, like when you cast a spell.
Like just one Eldritch Blast is stronger.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 or 4 or however many beams you can do. But that's hilarious.
Yeah,
They did not. Whoever wrote this does not know Eldritch Blast exists.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It can get brutal, stupid, real fast.
No, it's fine. This is fine. Eldritch Blast is what all warlocks use anyway.
I mean that fixes the, lack of spell points.
Yeah, it's gonna be boring. I just think it's hilarious. I did not realize that. Okay. So
all right.
Don't change that, Wizards of the Coast. Leave it as is. Seems good. Got the seal of approval. Let's go to Mortal Husk.
Mortal Husk, all right.
Your connection to undeath and necrotic energy now saturates your body. Saturate like a good syrup on a waffle. Undead waffle. With holes in it. You have resistance to necrotic damage. Nice. If you were transformed in your form of dread, you're now immune to necrotic damage.
I don't like that either.
Yeah. It's strong, though. It makes sense.
Yeah, but I would never give a player immunity to anything ever.
Really?
I think resistance, 100% okay, but getting just straight up immunity to things, I feel like that's just not fun.
I think if monsters and enemies can do it, players should be allowed as well.
Yeah, but it's not fun for the other players that don't get that.
Well, they could get it. They have the agency to be this class.
I mean,
if
that's true.
Somebody can play something that someone else can do, there's no reason to not allow it just because the other players can't do it because they chose to not.
This is the only subclass that gives you immunity, though, as far as I'm aware.
Is it the only one? As
far as I'm aware.
It makes sense, though, because undead things can be resistant or immune to
Yeah, but there are other things that you would imagine should give you immunity to.
And it's only for a minute.
That's a lot. That's 6. That's 10 rounds.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think it's valid, but I am not opposed to doing this.
I think they'll change it. Is all I'm thinking.
They maybe. I don't think it's that ridiculous, but if it's
not
the
that
case
ridiculous.
If it is the case that this is the first time immunity happens in a subclass, then that holds some water, I would say.
Right.
But that's not even the end of it. In addition, when you're I'm sorry, this is just hilarious. Whenever you are reduced to 0 hit points, you can cause your body to explode.
Yeah.
There are still more sentences after this. Each creature, when within 30 feet of you, any creature, friends or not, takes necrotic damage on this explosion equal to 2d10 plus your warlock level. So that's 2d10 at a max to 20 if you're playing to 20. So at full force, it's 40 damage. So that's not. I don't think it's going to kill anybody at that level, but it might knock somebody out that has not a lot of health left. If you are dying, then certainly other things might be close as well. You then revive. So you've officially died in terms of D&D, but you're coming back with 1 hit point, standing, ready to fight again, with all of your gear, and you gain 1 level of exhaustion. You can't do it again if you revive this way until you finish 1d4 long rests. You just fart.
That's cool.
On everybody. And come
like
back. Yeah. It's kind of like a little ultimate.
Very strong, too.
Yeah, I love it. But, of course, you could get poked again. The cool thing I like is you're not incapacitated. You just back up. You can do your reactions, everything. Of course, if you've expended spell slots, if you have used your action or reaction already that turn, those maintain the same thing. But it's not like something like Tomb of Levistus, where you're incapacitated for a certain amount of time after doing this last-ditch effort.
Or if if you're already exhausted, then it definitely adds for some more issues whenever you get back up. I mean, imagine, let's say you've made it to 5 exhaustion points somehow, and then you get up and then die immediately again because you hit 6.
Yeah, it could happen.
How sad.
It is kind of sad. You can choose to do this. It says you can cause your body to explode.
True.
So it doesn't happen every time. Of course, if your party members are near you and you don't want to kill them because one of them is at 2 health, there you go. But I think this is really flavorful.
Or
nice
you
and
can
fun.
take them to Strahd's Embrace together.
Maybe you're all Mortal Husk Warlocks and you're just causing a chain effect of exploding warlocks, right? Full full party of the Undead Warlocks with the same patron, just suicide bombs, which is kind of weird, but that would be hilarious. But that is the last sentence for that one. Pretty chonky. So spirit projection is the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I love this flavor. Your body is now simply a vessel for your spirit. Same. As an action, you can project your spirit from your body. The body you leave behind is catatonic, unconscious, suspended in animation. Your spirit can remain outside of your body for up to an hour or until your concentration is broken. So do not cast a concentration spell while doing this. If you've got a sneaky DM, they will launch you out of this. Ryan has warned me enough about concentration that he would do this. Now it's on me if I forget. When your projection ends, your spirit returns to your body, or your body magically teleports to your spirit space. So you could sneak through some walls or bars as you now have the qualities basically of a specter. The same sort of thing as if you land on somebody or in a physical thing, you take a D10 force damage. If you end your turn there, you can hover. You have a flying speed equal to how far you walk. This is crazy too. You gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, of course, as a specter would. When you cast a spell that's conjuration or necromancy, the spell does not require verbal, somatic, or materials, as long as there is no gold cost. And if you're in your form of dread, further buffing this thing, similar to one of the past features that comes across here, you regain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage that you deal. So the thing I would like to say, though, is while you're in this form, you can really only cast spells, because I do not think you're getting, if you have a weapon or something like that, it has to be spells.
Yeah, it doesn't mention anything about that.
Yeah, but I would imagine like, you don't get a
your
spirit form of your weapon.
Yeah, you don't have your items or anything with you.
So do keep that in mind. There's limitations of what you can do in this form, but you're resistant to a lot of things and immune to necrotic damage at this time. So for an hour, I think it said.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. The most involved...
Yeah, you can cover some distance with that.
Yeah, one of the most involved final subclass things that has come around here. There's a lot of stuff in this one. I think there's a lot of tweaking that could happen. And something I wanted to point out about the flying spell. Does that say you can hover?
The fly spell specifically?
Yes. I need to know this.
Let's see. It says you gain a flying speed. It doesn't say specifically. But I would imagine you could just not move.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, because I would not have worked for me at all. So I think they would have worded it, if you have fly, you must move like any amount of space.
Yeah. It just says you gain a flying speed.
Yeah, it's not like you can fly on other people's. It's just something that like came up, wording that I wanted to talk about. But that's the end of the Undead Warlock. Of course, he'll never actually see the end because he's undead and will forever haunt you after his explosions of end and undeath.
And the first thing you mentioned whenever this came out was, imagine running a Curse of Strahd game and one of the players is, their patron is Strahd.
Yeah, how'd that work?
That makes for some interesting, or maybe do they not know, or does he not know?
It could be a cool reveal. Your warlock gets a patron that he doesn't know and he speaks to them and you're like, oh, his voice kind of sounds similar. And it's eventually revealed that I give you your powers, and the problem I get there is that can Strahd then just take the powers away if you guys are fighting? How does that work?
Yeah, the interesting thing about warlocks to me is, while clerics have some interaction with their deity, and paladins definitely have to, if they follow their oath more or less, but warlocks have some of the most stuff they have to do for their patron. It'd be nice if there was some sort of, kind of like a piety system for warlocks as well, because it's a very similar idea where you have to appease your patron. If you don't, boom, powers are gone.
That's a good thing we could come up with if we ever wanted to make content, a piety system for warlock patrons.
Yeah, it definitely.
That could be a lot of fun.
I definitely think it should exist.
You know what? I'm going to say it. That would make the warlock class like perfect.
Perfect, he says.
The gripes I have about the spell lists and whatnot, if these piety things grant you the ability to get extra spell slots, not permanently,
it would
but like
definitely,
refresh it.
I would imagine, because there's very few, like maybe one or two patrons of the warlock that is not, is ones that people would generally like in a party. If you're with a cleric, they're not going to be wanting you to sacrifice someone to the great old ones.
Yeah.
So it could definitely come up with some interesting role play
there. That's literally her situation, though.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. That's something that I've heard before too. Kenneth, I think, posted in our Discord. Shout out to the Discord.
He did, yeah.
A video where people are discussing warlocks, and I want to try to find it so we can give them a shout out. But they say at one point they talk about a situation.
It's on D&D Beyond.
There you go. Where typically you enact a pact with a patron to do something, at which upon completion your pact with them is done. Oftentimes it may lead to your death or stealing of your soul or something. But I think if you guys are having warlocks in your party, in your TM, make that something very active. Don't just let them be a warlock and get these spells without actually having to do things for their patron. Because it's very easy to let your players pick a class and just experience D&D and play it mechanically. But tossing that RP in there and making
that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I think not even just for warlocks, but just like the paladin and cleric. I think a lot of times people forget that there is a god that these people are getting their powers from that you need to keep in mind.
Yeah. So little RP tidbit.
Which definitely, that leads into us doing a particular podcast episode on each class, talking about the role play aspects and the different subclasses and how to use them as a DM.
Yeah, coming up with a couple of builds perhaps that we might like. I really, really need to read through each class and all the options for them just so I can be more informed.
That'd be a good way for you to practice with it.
Oh, yeah. And lately I've been reading a lot about gods, a lot about them. These guys, most often when you're writing a story or campaign, like patrons or whatever, they're the instigators for a lot of stuff.
Always.
So keep that in mind. But this is a fun little Unearthed Arcana. I liked it, but I'm more excited to see how they revise it.
Oh, I mean, I always like reading, well, okay, maybe not always like reading. But it's interesting seeing the Unearthed Arcana stuff that they have, and then specifically like with the Artificer, that's one of the classes that we actually seen have gone through the ringer and has come out the other side as a official finalized product.
Artificer still has some wonkiness to it, but overall, I think it was a welcome addition to like the sort of tinkerer aspect of things. Really fun. Again, broken in some ways. Like if somebody gets a weapon or an item with a really unique effect, the Artificer, I think at some point can just kind of replicate it in some way. I could be wrong about that, but I've heard
it's not as bad as the Warlock invocation thing that we read a while ago. I think it was an invocation where you just touch an armor and you get it.
You don and doff it immediately.
Yeah, you just walk into a shop, say, all right, I'm gonna take this one. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Goodbye. Done. Yeah. So there's some things to think about here. This is playtest material, of course, and thank you for coming on this ride where we talk about Unearthed Arcana.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you. We were going to talk about the rest of my monsters here, but maybe we'll do that next time. Maybe we won't do it. I want to drop a tidbit to Ryan,
okay,
just to mention it because I want to see his reaction here. So I think this is here. One of the monsters on my list, just to get you guys to maybe go look at the last episode.
A teaser. We'll get a teaser here.
Little teaser. The Fomorian.
Yeah, what's that?
You don't know what it is?
I'm not saying yes or no if I know what it is.
Dang it. It's a huge giant. It's basically a corrupt giant. One of the most beautiful and I think powerful in terms of spell casting creatures ever, especially among giants, and they were kind of cursed by the Fae to be disgusting and ugly, and they also inhibit this curse on other people because they're spiteful. But that's just a little tip. That's one of the guys I don't want to run into. I think this is a monster we're about to fight in our campaign. Ryan's not going to give it away, but look at these guys. They're pretty cool. You're not going to tell me. I think that's what it is. We'll see.
They're cute, man. They're cute.
They are cute. Okay, he does know what they are. But thank you guys. Again, we have been the people of the dungeon crawl. He has been Ryan.
Yeah. He's been Braxton. Make sure you send us an email if you disagree or agree with our comments made today.
Oh, yeah.
At thedungeoncrawlpod@gmail.com. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram. Dungeoncrawlpod is our handle there. Also rate us 5 stars or bust on iTunes.
Yeah.
say the Fomorians are cute in your review.
Yeah, well, no, that's how we know. That's our tag sign for this episode. If you're interested in speaking with us or interacting with some of our good friends or a couple of dedicated viewers or listeners that we've had in our journey as the Dungeon Crawl, of course, as always, you can look in the description of the podcast link to join the episode, as well as see any other sound effects that we've been used for whatever. There's a lot of good information down there. Ryan put some effort in those descriptions. Thank him, love him, kiss him.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. See you guys next time. Don't know what we're doing, but it'll be fun.
It'll be juicy.
It'll be. I don't have anything good after that. Just leave.